this is about to change my life, and I never look back.
What'd you do?
So I'm an internet entrepreneur. I started off on LinkedIn building a personal branding agency on that. And I'm also a consultant for CEOs, founders, and companies who want to build their company brands and personal brands on LinkedIn and beyond.
How important is that?
If you want to grow on LinkedIn, the best thing you have to do is worry about.
The simple answer is...
Hi everyone, I'm Kaz Dash, an SEO expert with over a decade of experience in transforming online businesses. I've helped hundreds of companies rank #1 on Google, driving millions in revenue. I've worked with startups and Fortune 500 companies alike, crafting customized strategies that deliver tangible results. Plus, I've shared my insights on stage at various conferences, guiding thousands on the power of SEO. If you're looking to understand the real value of SEO and how it can skyrocket your business, you're in the right place. If you're looking to grow your organic SEO, make certain to check out the Traffic Accelerator system. The link is in the description. It is completely free. You will get a complete audit for your website, and you can essentially see where you are lacking and where you should be focusing your time and efforts on as well. Now let's dive in.
Welcome back to another podcast. I am joined by Lara.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks
Yeah.
for coming to London.
Thanks for jumping on the podcast. I'm doing well. How was the travel?
Yeah, good. Only 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer for me, but we won't get into that.
It's going to be worth it.
So for anybody that doesn't know who you are, what'd you do?
So I'm an internet entrepreneur. I started off on LinkedIn building a personal branding agency on there. And now we've pivoted onto cohorts and courses. And I'm also a consultant for CEOs, founders, and companies who want to build their company brands and personal brands on LinkedIn and beyond.
Just a random question. How much do you deadlift?
I've been asked this so many times. 140 is my max kilos.
It's quite a lot. So the reason why I asked that is because I know you're very big into your powerlifting. Would you say that that's helped you with your entrepreneurial mindset?
Good research. Yes, 100%. I think for me, being able to, when you're able to transform your body as a person, like when you go from fat to fit, you realize how much control you actually have over your own environment. And if you're able to drag yourself to the gym and do something that you really hate for 0.11%, 1% improvement every single day, or even zero improvement, and you go again the next day, it just means that you're dedicated enough to change something so you can apply those fundamentals onto everything else in life. It's been so useful for me. And also powerlifting, before, when it started, it only got popular like up until recently, but I started lifting like 7 years ago, and it was quite still like weightlifting was still very manly, or like especially powerlifting. There was a lot of men in the industry, of course, especially in competition, so it was like only a small portion of girls lifting. So for me, it was a massive breakthrough in my own like world, because I went from very shy, crying at the gym because the men would look at me like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. They'll give me unsolicited advice about how to lift, and it was like very overwhelming, to someone that can just literally walk onto the weight section full of men, and I'm not fazed. I feel like I belong there because I earned my place there. And after that, I feel like business is just a walk in the park.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely resonate with that. I think going to the gym does build confidence, even outside of the gym, whether it's doing a podcast or going into a really important meeting and trying to close that client or whatever else. I think it's a good foundational block to just get in the right mindset. But personal branding.
Yes.
That's your forte. I know we were speaking before the podcast, and I was telling you about the recent algorithm update and how SEOs are kind of pivoting towards building more of a brand, or potentially even a personal brand. But Why did you get into it? Why do you think it's important?
I feel like I've always had a personal brand, and I always saw the importance of marketing oneself. It's just now it's under a new umbrella. Every 3 years, there's a new big thing. It's SMMA, dropshipping, Amazon FBA, whatever it is. Now it's personal branding. So it's still the same thing. It's like marketing at scale when you're talking about yourself and building your own brand, whether it's on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, Twitter. It just reputation at scale. That's literally what personal branding is. If you think about the internet and the era that we're going to, like shifting into like the digital renaissance and everything else, everybody needs to build themselves online as much as they're building themselves offline. The opportunity is just insane to just not think about it. Every single person, like on average, spends about 4 to 5 hours on social media. And if you're not at least trying to get in front of more people every single day, I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, definitely. I can I can sense the competitiveness coming from you, because obviously you've just mentioned how you used to do, or you still do, powerlifting.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about like being in front of more people, getting in front. Do you think you're quite a competitive person?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I compete with every single person I meet. I feel like all of my friendships started off with me wanting to beat them, and then like now I like leveled up with them and then we're friends. It's like a handshake from me. To me, it's a form of admiration if I'm competing against someone and I want to beat them. It's my way of showing affection as well. I am a very like a sort of abusive friend, and it's like I hate you so much, I want to beat you, suck, but it's like in a very loving, admiring manner. But yeah, I just feel like if there's no goal or like prize, I just don't want to do it. Which is often a blessing in disguise, but also a really bad thing, because then if I'm not competing for something, I get bored and then I just don't do it. So.
Right. Interesting. So then going back to the LinkedIn stuff, why LinkedIn? Why not another social media platform? Because that's your biggest following there.
So yeah, that's a funny story. So basically, I started off on Instagram actually and TikTok. I had about 40,000 followers on TikTok, 30,000 followers on Instagram. Kept on going viral during the pandemic. I was a fitness influencer because of powerlifting, of course. And at one point, I just looked at the content and I was like, I don't want to be this anymore. I have multiple different interests. Like I'm, diverse. I'm interested. I'm not just fitness or just something else. I like nerdy things. I like a little bit of SEO. I just like knowing things. I'm very curious. And there was a point where I posted something on my story about Nikola Tesla and just me being interested in science. And then I got a bunch of comments saying like, oh, you stick to fitness. Like, why are you talking about this? Same with when I started getting interested in crypto last bull run. I was talking about crypto and I was like just interested naturally. And it was like, oh, what do you know about finance? And then talked about business. Well, I had a whole entire business degree. And they're like, what do you know about business? People just boxed me into the fitness influencer, category, and that was it. And I saw it and I was like, fuck that. Absolutely not. I'm not gonna just be my looks. I don't want to be that. I'm way more than that. So then I got through a rough phase with my Instagram where I just didn't feel like myself, or like there was a space for me to grow in that space. Everything was about how many competitions you made, what you did, how much weight you lost or gained, bulk or cut, protein intake, macros, all of that. And I was like, I'm bored. Like that's just a fragment of who Lara is. And then I just shut everything off. Like I hated social media for a bit. And I was like, I'm going to focus on my self-development. I went through a lot of things during the pandemic. It was quite a lonely time for everyone. And I just dedicated myself to like reading one book a week and focusing on like my self-growth improvement. Started off my first business, which was like a social media marketing agency, and then dropshipping failed and all of that. All of this while I didn't really have social media. And then I was like, okay, these businesses aren't working. I hate them all. And business is a scam. Like all these courses are a scam. All these coaches are a scam. Dial Up is a scam. Iman Gadget is a scam. All of these people trying to sell me this dream of the entrepreneurship world is a lie. And I was like, fuck it. I want to go back to university in England. I was back in Mexico during the pandemic. So I wanted to apply for a master's degree. I was like, okay, digital marketing. And I needed a reference from teachers. And I didn't have their numbers, I didn't have their emails because I was such a bad student for my undergrad that I just didn't keep in contact with any of them. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna restart my LinkedIn account. I had deleted it previously because I also hated LinkedIn as a platform. It was just so fake and overwhelming. Yeah. And so I started my LinkedIn account May 2022, literally 2 years ago now, and focused on seeing everything that was up on LinkedIn. I was like, I looked at some content and a lot of content was going viral for absolutely no reason. I was like, this is so bad. How does this have 2,000 likes? And then, long story short, watched a Gary Vee keynote speech, did a lot of research on what worked on the platform, posted my first post and it went viral. 4,000 likes and 300,000 impressions in 24 hours. And I was like, this is about to change my life. And I never looked back. I committed to posting 3 times a week, every single week for the next 6 months. And now LinkedIn changed my life.
Right.
So yeah.
That's very empowering to hear. So if we go back a couple steps, you mentioned about posting 3 times a day, because some people say post
a week
every day in a week. Why are you only doing 3 times a week? Is there some like algorithm that you know about, or?
I feel like people focus too much on algorithms. My favorite algorithm to look at is people algorithm. So it's not about what works algorithmically, is what works in people's heads. If you're posting 3 times a week, but every single post is highly valuable, people are going to recognize, like you, and trust you. Whereas if you're posting every single day just because you have to post and your quality is sacrificed, then people aren't going to remember that. I realized quite quickly that yes, posting 5 times a week is actually quite useful if you're just starting. You don't have any writing experience, you don't have any experience whatsoever. You're just starting. Either you're just unemployed or a student, or just trying to get enough skills to sort of level up. Yeah, write every day, post every single day, because then you're like actually practicing. But if you do have the experience, if you do understand how to write for LinkedIn or on social media, then focus on quality, because then you're respecting your reader more. I feel like I put myself in the shoes of my consumer quite often, because I am a consumer myself. I am literally addicted to social media. Like, it's all I've done since I was like 7. And when I write a piece of content, I'm like, would I consume this myself? And if the answer is no, I'm not going to put it out, because why am I disrespecting someone that's taken 3 seconds of their time to stop and read my post if it's going to be shit? So it's not like you can post 3 times a week, you can post 5 times a week, as long as every single post has a singular piece of value that your audience doesn't expect, doesn't know, or can immediately apply. That's the whole thing. Yeah, people do have enough content for 5 times a week, fine, do it. As long as it's running well, it's got a purpose, and it's solving a problem or giving some sort of inspiration.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And one thing you have spoke about before is copy. Like, there's some expert sales copy people that I know. Would you consider yourself as being one of those? No,
I am not a copywriter by no means. I've never read a single copywriting book in my entire life. Even till this day, I just haven't done it. I'm a very good content creator. I'm a very good analytical person and intuitive. So I can see a piece of very well written content by one of our good friends that knows copywriting well, and I'll see it, I'll just understand how he structured it, and I'll be able to emulate it. But if he asked me why I did that, I would be like, I don't know, it just kind of worked. And then I'll just do that, but I don't know anything about copy. I know the basics. I'm good enough to kind of like get by, but if you ask me to write a book or a sales VSL or any direct response copywriting, I would not be able to do it.
Right. And have you always been more of like a creative type person?
Yeah, I'm super creative. It's also a blessing in disguise, because when I was running the agency, I had no SOPs, I had no frameworks, I had no systems. I was just like doing it as I went, which is fine. It worked out for me, but if I tried to scale it, it would have been a complete failure.
Right, okay. So then what's one thing that used to work on LinkedIn, but now doesn't? Or it might not work as well on LinkedIn?
So yeah, like last year, carousels, like swipeable carousels were working quite well. It was like threads on Twitter. Actually, I even joined Twitter to write threads on Twitter and then repurpose them as LinkedIn carousels, because that was working so well. For some reason, every time someone would post a thread carousel on LinkedIn, it would literally go viral, like 1,000 to 2,000 views, likes minimum. It was insane. For some reason, LinkedIn went through like an algorithm shift and also like a people shift, where a lot more people were coming onto LinkedIn to kind of consume content, and they were used to scrolling things on Instagram or like on Twitter. And so we implemented carousels where people could just like scroll through and feel like they were on Instagram, but also learning. I call it like mental masturbation, or just like being a self-help junkie, where people just kind of like consume content and like scroll it through, and they feel like they're like gaining so much value. So that's one of the things that really worked. But now there's been some changes on LinkedIn, and it's not working as much as it used to, unfortunately.
Right, okay. So one other thing that I've seen you post a lot about is the hooks.
Yeah.
Not
of course.
Not the punching type of hooks, as in like the first 10 words of a post. How important is that?
If you want to grow on LinkedIn, the best thing you need to do, the best thing you have to do is worry about the hook, because it's about 90% of a good post. If your hook is bad, then no one's going to read your post. People forget that you have to give the value up front in order for people to stay. So for example, if you're looking at a video, even this YouTube video or a TikTok, an Instagram reel, the first 3 seconds of a film, they hook you in onto what the problem or solution or what you're about to get. So if you're not doing that properly, then you're actually just wasting your time. You could write them on a list of content, but if your hook isn't good, then no one's going to read it or watch it.
Right, okay. And then a commonly asked question I get is, this social media platform doesn't work for my product or service because it's not sexy enough or it's not engaging enough. Would you say that LinkedIn can work for the most mundane services, like, for example, I don't know, gutter cleaning?
100%.
So any service.
LinkedIn is the sexiest platform, I will say. It's got all the very high value people, high network individuals, CEOs, founders, cool entrepreneurs. It's got all the nerds, and it's amazing because everybody is out there to make sales and be educated and also just win and support each other. In contrast with Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, it's just more about consumption and like aimless scenarios where there's like no intention to buy usually. I've worked with so many different niches, including like gardening, law, dentistry, oil and gas, and we've managed to find a way to make it work because that platform will work because it's got their ideal clients in it. Let's say there's people in Miami who need gardening services, and the CEO of this gardening company has a massive personal brand on LinkedIn, consistently talking about, you know, the benefits of the business, how they take care of their employees, the behind the scenes, things that inspire them, her background story. Then those people in Miami are more likely to actually reach out to her and be like, hey, can you, like, what are the services you offer? So yeah, even if you're in the most boring industry, LinkedIn will work if you make it work, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you always need to find an angle. It's also the same case with SEO as well. Like, there's times where business owners come to me and they think their product isn't the perfect fit for SEO, and it's like, no, listen, there's like 5 billion searches a day.
Yeah.
I'm sure someday is going to come across your website if your website's ranking. But I heard you talk about mentorship and also like masterminds on another podcast. And it sounds like a certain event happened or a mastermind happened that completely changed your life. Do you want to touch on that?
I mean, every single every single coach I ever had changes my life. Mentorship is the one thing that I will always invest on. My dad is a business coach. I've always had coaches since I was like 5. I've been like mentored for English lessons. I'm Mexican. My first language is Spanish, so I feel like for me, coaching is like a must. Recently, I feel like the number one event that was like a canon event for me was going to Grant Cardone's 10X conference in Las Vegas in 2021 before the pandemic. That was a complete eye-opener. I didn't know who Grant Cardone was, by the way. I had no idea. So I went in super blind to what this entire entrepreneurship world was. And then I sat in my seat and I start seeing all this entire show of like people just shouting. People were getting 10X tattooed on themselves. And I was like, what is this movement? And then I realized it was just an entire business organization, but it was like a cult. So me seeing that and kind of like made business not look as boring as I thought. And actually it's a way of finding purpose, because I saw so many people share the story, including Grant Cardone. I'll never forget, he started his monologue being like, I was diagnosed with alcoholism, drug addiction, ADHD, ADD, blah 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 blah. And he's like, fuck that, fuck all those labels, look at me now. I just managed to break out of those things and become who I always wanted to be, and now I'm teaching you guys how to do the same. So in that moment I was like, we have the ability to change whoever we are to who we want to be whenever. Like every single thing you do, you have the chance to, change it immediately. So that's one thing. And then every single coach I have, like, they just give me the best advice. I'm also addicted to coaching, and I will buy any course I bump into.
That's quite funny. I recently held a mastermind in Saigon, Vietnam, like an in-person mastermind. And I think I started maybe selling the tickets like 6 months ago. And I thought there's going to be like 5 people that turn up. There was like 55 people that turned up. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
But a lot of people ask me like, why did you do it? Like, what was the thought process behind it? And the simple answer is, in the SEO community, when I was first like breaking through and learning it and stuff, I felt like I took a lot from the community, like taking bits from here, taking bits from there, learning from everyone. And that mastermind was kind of a way of giving back to the community, because there was guys that, like, I'll give you a prime example. There was one guy that was just setting up his SEO agency. He maybe had like 2 or 3 staff, and there was another guy on the other side of the spectrum that had just done 250 million last year, and he wanted to scale to 1 billion in 5 years' time. So it's like being able to connect those 2 people. There's going to be some things that person A's done that person B's not thought about.
Yeah.
And there's always like some form of synergy there.
Yeah, I love coaching, especially with group coaching, because it's, for me, at one point you stop paying for the coach and you actually you're paying for access to people that are going to level you up. In October last year, I had a massive issue where I just felt demotivated by my friendship group, by like my environment. I had reached a lot of goals and I just felt like something was missing. So I made the investment on a mastermind where I knew there were going to be people that had been either in the industry for longer than me or were making more than me, and I was going to be the worst person in that group. So then I had something to look at and be like, okay, I have all these people to compete against. Now, how am I going to beat them? Even if they're like in completely different industries. Now, every time I go into the mastermind on Mondays, they're all talking about the problems. And it's just like, okay, firstly, everybody, like no one knows what they're doing. Secondly, everybody's trying to help each other out, and then we're all doing our best to kind of win. But the difference between these people and like everyone else, I think, is like their ability to make decisions quickly and actually take action on advice immediately. So we'll see people that, even me, where there's a problem on a Monday, we discuss the solutions on the same day, and then everybody comes back and has implemented everything immediately, and like there's results already. Instead of like the typical, oh yeah, I'll think about it, then I'll ponder about it, then I'll kind of won't do it, and then come back and complain about it again. So that for me has been massive, just being surrounded by A players, and then becoming an A player as a default.
That is quite possibly the most frustrating thing ever, when you give somebody a solution and they don't implement it.
Yes.
They might second guess you on it. Have you ever read the book The Secret?
No, but I heard of it.
All about manifestation.
Yeah, I heard of it. I haven't read it.
I feel like you would enjoy that, and like a lot of the things that you're saying is based off of that book. Like, for example, Conor McGregor, and I know he's a bit of an alcoholic now, but in his early days when he was up on his like uprise, that was the book that he was basically like quoting a lot of the stuff from, all about like manifesting his next victory, like picturing his next like punch and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good that you.
Yeah, my parents. I know that book because I've seen it on my parents' bookshelves. My parents are very spiritual and very like religious, into mindset, business. So I think all of the books that they've read on that, they just like passed on to me through just how they spoke to me.
Right.
I'm very big on manifesting. Since I was very young, I've always kind of like manifested things by accident, and it was because my dad was just like very big on like empowering me as a person and giving me the tools to kind of like access those like powerful intention, like how to do something with intention, how to make something happen, and how to act accordingly to that person I wanted to become, which made me delusional, and it's taken me to very high highs and very low lows, because I have this delusional confidence that I feel like I can do anything I want whenever I want, and it works, but also it pisses a lot of people off, and it puts me in situations where I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be fine, and I just don't do anything about something, and then it just kind of fixes itself, but it's also just a bit stupid sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. So I have got 9 LinkedIn quickfire questions.
I'm ready.
Doesn't need to be like in 10 seconds or anything. You can take as long as you want. But is it true that 10 minutes before posting your LinkedIn post, you should go and like a handful of posts because the 10 people that you engage with are likely to engage back with your post? This
is true, but this is based on like reciprocity bias, where if you like something of someone, they are more likely to come back and do the same. This is just, psychological biases. So yes, it does work, but it's not like a guaranteed. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you go and like 100 people's posts, 10 will 100% come back. That's just naturally how it happens. And the more you do it consistently, the more people are going to start liking you and then trusting you, knowing you again. And this is how you build a magnetic personal brand, through genuinely building real connections that will come back and will reciprocate that intentionality. And then in the long term, you won't even have to do that anymore, right? Because then those people are more loyal to you because you've given them something of value and they want to give back.
Very good answer. Do you use any third-party tools like Lempod?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
Why is that?
I don't believe in building an audience unorganically. I like Lempire and I use Taplio, one of their tools in Tweet Hunter. They are acquired by Taplio, by Lempire. But Lempod is something I just never used. I've been accused of that, but I've never used it because I've always built organically. Always. Every single one of my clients has built organically from the ground up. So being in a pod is just a bit stupid to me. Like, why are you, like, the moment people leave those pods, and I've spoken to so many people of them, their engagement goes down. So you're basically borrowing likes.
Now, I haven't tested this, but I have heard the theory of why that happens when your likes go down. But it's basically because it's all automated, people just visit your profile, like the post, leave. There's not actually any engagement time, which a lot of these social platforms look to actually boost your posts. So for example, on YouTube, it's all about watch time. On Twitter, it's all about the time spent on the tweet. So you can have like a tweet that has had like 10 likes, but if everybody spent like 5 minutes on that tweet, it's going to get boosted out to more people. So maybe that might be the reason why.
Yeah, but then what's the point of buying access to people liking your content if it's actually not going to result in any more leads or impressions long term? It's only a short term like kind of like hack that people kind of use to fill in that void. But the reality is more people should worry about their content and giving value and actually making meaningful connections than going into an engagement pod.
System.
Yeah, it's just a hack.
Is it better to put a link as the first comment as opposed to inside the status?
Yes, only because LinkedIn naturally, like any other social media platform, even Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they all want you to stay in the platform as long as possible. So when you introduce an external link, in my opinion, I've tested this heavily, your post doesn't perform as well. There's two reasons for this. One, naturally, LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave the platform. Two, people don't click on the link. And if you have a link in your content and people aren't clicking on the link, your post naturally going to get deranked because people are not spending enough time on that. And then it just kind of like puts it down. So you're better off putting the link, whatever link you're promoting, onto the first comment and then editing it back into the post after 6 hours when the post has had its lifespan like almost complete.
One thing I have noticed about LinkedIn is that out of all of the social medias, like you can post something like 2 weeks ago and it still seems to get likes, whereas with Twitter, it's either going to go viral today or that it's not type thing, where it's like LinkedIn, it kind of like lingers around like a bad smell.
I see that on Twitter though. I feel like we see this because you're not on the platform enough and I'm not on Twitter enough. So we see the little greener parts of the grass on the other platform. But no, LinkedIn's actually got a very short lifespan. Right. Sometimes I will see posts that were posted 2 weeks ago for some reason, but that's just more of like a sign of how little supply there is for the demand of content there are. So there's about 1 billion users on LinkedIn and there's only 1 to 2% producing content and then only 1% are posting content weekly. So hence why you're more likely to see old posts on LinkedIn, but that doesn't mean that they have a longer lifespan. It just means that supply isn't meeting demand.
Right, okay. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario and then we'll go back to these LinkedIn quickfire questions. So let's say you signed me up as a potential client. Would you or somebody in your team look to figure out what the pain points are in my industry?
Yeah, of course.
Right, okay.
It's the main thing that your content would be made of, problems and solutions. And then that's how we create awareness content, then obviously top of funnel content, middle of funnel content, bottom of funnel content. So every single post you make should be solving a problem and introducing a solution. Always. That's where the value comes. People think giving value is, hey, I've got this amazing SEO strategy you should use. It's going to help you so much to get so many leads. Contact me below. Like that is not what my philosophy is with content. It's always like give the value up front, give as much value away as you can for free, give them the problem and also the solution, make it so easy for them to implement it that they want to hire you instead of doing it.
Yeah, that's I don't know if you've ever seen the stats of like courses and stuff.
Yeah, people don't finish them.
Yeah, people don't finish them and they end up just hiring the person who created the course.
Yeah.
So yeah, always provide value first. What performs best? Surveys, videos, pictures, standard text posts?
So the standard now is first text and infographics or text and image. So text and infographics work really well because naturally people on LinkedIn want to learn. So if you're posting an infographic that's showing like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is breaking it into pieces, giving advice here and there, and then you're like in the content, like text above, you're actually breaking it down a little bit more. So this is why Maslow's hierarchy of needs is important for your business, step number 1, step number 2, and there's like a very clear visual of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then people are going to like it because they're spending a lot of time looking at it. They are interested because it's a valuable piece of content that people can use for their organizations, and they'll probably save it because there's a lot of value there. The second piece is story content. So if you're sharing a story about, remote work, the 9 to 5, leaving the rat race, stuff like that is highly compelling to a bunch of people that are in B2B business, which is all of that, then it's most likely to resonate, and then why it works, especially if you're using a photo, because it makes it a little bit more social, and there's way more connection when people are seeing face to face. So those are the two main things. The third thing was carousels. It kind of works, depends. It's not guaranteed anymore, but it still works. And then Twitter screenshots. I use them a lot. I create Twitter posts which break something down quickly because obviously Twitter is like quite short. And then I'll give more context on the copy. So it'll be like, here's how to grow a personal brand. Step number 1, do market research. Step number 2, post 3 times a week, blah, blah. And then on the post, I'd actually break it down into longer format. So people get the hook, which is the photo, then they read the second hook, which is the actual text hook, and then they read the content. So I'm increasing my chances of people stopping and reading my content rather than just doing one, which is just text or video. And then video just doesn't work on LinkedIn. I do a lot of video on LinkedIn now personally, but it's because I've built enough rapport with my audience that they are more likely to stop and watch my video because they already know me, like me, and trust me enough to literally stop their scroll, put their headphones on, press play, and put the sound on, because literally like LinkedIn doesn't do that naturally like TikTok or Instagram. So it's not a growth piece of content, I would say. Same with text. Right. Yeah. And polls, they're stupid. I have never used a poll, but apparently they're good for impressions.
Did you recently see the famous LinkedIn post where it was like the guy getting the B2B?
Here's what I love about B2B SaaS. Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That was like peak LinkedIn.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of lessons from him. I hope he's well. But yeah, no, it was funny. I mean, at this point, I don't know. LinkedIn is just so satirical and funny, and it's just like, I love it. I would prefer a joke like that than something else that I would see on Twitter, like something way more retarded.
Yeah, definitely. Are you using LinkedIn groups?
No,
not at all.
Like groups? No.
As in, like, for example, there's like an SEO group and there's like 6,500 people.
Yes, I've heard of these, but no, I've never used them.
Right. Okay.
I just never had the need to do it, and I don't have the time to do it.
Right.
They're just not. I find more value in actually interacting with people individually instead of joining groups.
Right.
I hate being part of WhatsApp groups or like anything, so I just don't do it naturally. I just don't want to be part of it.
Fair enough. I'm going to test your SEO knowledge with this question.
Okay.
LinkedIn Pulse. How much do you know about it?
LinkedIn Post?
Pulse.
Pulse?
Yeah.
What is that?
Right. Well, that's hilarious. So
LinkedIn Pulse?
Yeah.
I know backlinks. I've got great backlinks. I've got 3 Forbes backlinks.
So that's your knowledge on SEO.
And I have an Ahrefs account.
Perfect. So LinkedIn Pulse, the best way that I can describe it is kind of like the blog section of LinkedIn, right? So you can go and talk about literally anything. And because LinkedIn is like such a high domain authoritative website, it just ranks, right? So you're kind of piggybacking off of the power of LinkedIn.
Right.
Right. So you've got me there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now people, or black hat SEOs, basically took advantage of this and started ranking for all sorts of keywords, like, I don't know, best plumbers in Wyoming. And there was another funny one, how to sell feet pics online. LinkedIn Pulse did actually rank for that. It still ranks for a lot of like fat burner pills and stuff like that. But it's just really funny from an SEO speaking to a LinkedIn person, and you've just never heard of it. It does seem like it's all just SEOs abusing it.
That's crazy. No, I've never heard of it. So where does it go? Like on a post?
Yeah, so it goes on like they've got like their own blog section. So I think it's like linkedin.com.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And then it basically just gets syndicated out. But because of how authoritative LinkedIn is and how trustworthy Google sees LinkedIn as a domain, it just ranks it for like any keyword.
That's insane.
So yeah, just SEOs have been abusing it for like the past 12 months, ranking for like all sorts of affiliate keywords.
Maybe I'll get on it.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah, when I get a website.
The good thing is you don't need a website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
that's great.
It's hosted by LinkedIn. So then a little bit more of a technical question. I think you might answer no to this, but do you conduct any form of A/B testing on your posts?
Yes.
Oh, do you? Right. Okay.
Very big on. I'm a bit of a nerd. I surround myself with nerds so I can kind of like be a nerd by default. But A/B testing is something I started doing like a year ago, where I try a post 1 month and then we'll try the same post but with a different type of like hook or image. And then I quickly realized that image posts with certain types of hooks work for me. Also, what works for me doesn't work for a client, for example. So we also have to do a lot of A/B testing in that. It's incredibly important for a personal brand to consistently try and test, iterate, and then apply. Otherwise, there's just not going to be growth at all. People think that there's just one way to build a marketing strategy, especially for personal branding, where it's like 3 posts a week, educate, inspire, entertain, and then that's it. 1 image post a week. The thing is, yes, it does work, but also you have to consistently be analyzing the quality of comments that you're getting, the quantity of connection requests you're receiving, and how many like either leads or requests for your inquiries for your work you're getting, to make sense of whether the posts you're making are worth it and worth your time. My like baseline is if like I'm getting enough reposts and I'm getting a lot of comments, then it's doing what I want to do, which is like I'm going top of funnel, I'm going like massive broad scale. But for a client that's needing leads, then we're gonna base it on how many DM inquiries he's gotten, and we'll test 1 sales post 1 week. Then we'll do this exact same offer, but with a different intention, maybe focusing more on the keyword, which is like B2B SaaS founders, you need this product, rather than if you're looking to increase your sales on LinkedIn, here's one thing I can do for you, which is very different. It's the same thing, different approach. So super important.
Right, okay. That's interesting. And do you define LinkedIn hooks before creating the content, such as curiosity, problem solving, or personal story hooks?
So before, I was very meticulous onto how I wanted my content to feel, to look like, just because naturally I was just building my authority and I just wasn't anyone on the platform. Now I post 4 days a week. 2 of them have to be educational at least. 1 of them has to be a story, and the next one is like a YouTube funnel to my new YouTube like video. So now I just focus, okay, how can I educate on a Tuesday? How can I educate on a Wednesday? How can I tell a story on a Thursday? And how can I funnel them to YouTube on a Sunday? That's my main focus. As long as I know what the focus is, everything else just kind of comes naturally. If I start saying to myself, okay, on a Monday I'm going to talk about copywriting and it's going to be about this specific thing, then I'm going to actually just stress myself out, because I am creative. I am not organized at all. So that's the most organization I can handle personally, and it's worked very well. It's not very sustainable, I would say, but it just drives me and it makes me want to learn more things. So I'll usually just get inspired by things I see on Twitter or like a podcast or a conversation that I had with a client, and I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I can educate people on this day, and I'm just gonna try and do it. And then I'll define the hook first. I'll list the pain and solutions that I'm trying to address, usually just one thing, and then I'll write the entire post based on my successful templates from before. So now I've got like this repertoire of content that's proven. I've also seen enough content because I run an agency for 2 years that works. So now I like know the topic, know the solution, know the person that I'm addressing, and I know all the proven templates and content that I can use, and then just it's a wheel of content now. Content
wheel.
Yes.
So that's all the LinkedIn rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You've done very well. You got 9 out of 9.
Oh, okay, 9 out of 9. Fabulous.
But back to yourself. You were obviously talking about failures before, and it seems like you're the type of person that would just brush off a failure and go again. But what are free? You might not have free at the top of your head, but what's free failures, and what did you learn from them?
In business and life?
Anything.
Okay, you share one while I think about one of mine.
I set up a web design agency like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer than that now. And I was stupid enough to think that I had to do all the work, so I couldn't outsource anything. So I thought, right, well, I need to do the prospecting, do the sales calls, send the invoices, create the website, deliver the website, do any edits to the website. I thought I had to be the one man band, basically. So that failed, and
Right.
then I learned the power of outsourcing.
How's that going now?
Yeah, really good.
To be fair, like, I don't know, for some reason I also had that belief that you couldn't outsource some like,
Feels like cheating.
yeah, or like you're not meant to be there yet because you're just starting a business. Like, why would you need to hire things, right? Yeah, no, I failed so many times. I feel like I fail every single day. I just manage to get up every single time. Like, content fails sometimes for clients, for like my course, for example. My last product launch, everything was a failure. Like, shit hit the fan so quickly. I failed at launching my webinar. I filled up this webinar with 1,000 people, subscribers, and then I went and hosted the Zoom, and I didn't know that Zoom free has a limit of 100 people. To get more, you have to actually pay. And then so I started this webinar so excited, and I was ready to funnel people to like sales. And then midway through, like 15 minutes in, I look at the comments because like they kept on popping up while I was like delivering this webinar. And it's like, hey, people can't get in. And I see my WhatsApp, people can't get in. And there were like a lot of people disappointed. They were angry. They were upset. They were like disappointed. And I was like, oh my God. And I spent the entire night after that, like, personally manually emailing every single person that didn't get in and sending them like freebies. I made another webinar the next day to like apologize because I felt so bad, and a lot of people thought it was like an entire thing, like I did it on purpose to like increase demand and hype, and I was like, no, I just didn't know you had to pay for Zoom Premium. Like, I didn't know. And they were like, how would you not know that? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, kind of like learning. So that was like a massive failure.
What did you learn from that though?
I have a recurring Zoom membership now. That I think I learned to be prepared and like kind of see everything from like a bit of an outsider perspective, because I am very inside of the business, so I just don't know anything else, and I do overly rely on my luck and charisma, and sometimes that doesn't work. So just trying to be a little bit more prepared with things, hire a team so they can take care of that in the future, and then just accepted that shit happens. For a day I felt really bad. I thought that everybody was looking at me, and then I remember this thing which is called the spotlight effect, which is another like psychological thing, which is like we all think that people are paying way more attention than they actually are. So I stopped feeling bad about myself. So I fail every single day. I feel we all do, but it's just more about how quickly you're able to recover from that failure, learn from it, and apply it to your next thing and never do it again.
Yeah, definitely. There's I think there's a lesson to be had there. Mm-hmm. You need premium Zoom.
They've got my money for a lifetime.
Yeah, so where can everyone find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Lara Acosta, or YouTube. Get me to 10,000 subscribers. I'm very excited. And Twitter or newsletter. That's literally it. Website coming soon. I've got the best backlinks on LinkedIn. So also that.
Thanks for joining.